Oh, I forgot I said I was going to make a video on animating stuff. Not necessarily how to animate stuff, but just a kind of overview over the different kinds of things that are like one might consider to be animatable. But you got two main categories really. You got your mods, which are objects like this that you can grab nodes uh, and more or less do with them like a car. That's quite a lot more work than the other kinds. Any mod pretty much is like this. It'll animate, and in like some cases, like objects like, let me pick another one. I'll pick this one here. Certain objects like this can be animated if you apply like a thruster to it, which a thruster is more or less like a jet, a rocket that takes off into space. Um, Basically, this is a mod too, just like your car. It's something that you can interact with. If it hits the ground, it'll collide with the ground. And then the next thing are actual track objects that are not mods. They are animated differently, and they're not as dynamic. For example, well, look at this real quick. I got a couple examples here of some track objects that are just track objects, and this also is an example of a mod. See, when I spawn, you'll see a rock fall. That's an actual mod. If I could have got up there in time, it would have hit the car. That's a mod. But this rock is just an animated background. Not background as like in a wallpaper. It's a track object. It's a static mesh that I just animated in Blender. If you were to put the car there under it, if I get the car over there, you would see that it just passed right through it. It's not going to hit it. That's the thing about those, and they're just for scenery. The other type of track object is animated texture, which is just a texture that's tileless, or seamless, which is really that seamless, is it? But the way that works is in the animated properties, you got these different tabs that control the direction, or you can rotate. That's not the kind of texture that you would want to rotate, but you get the idea. And you got a wave, which will basically, I guess, oscillate back and forth. So that's a type of texture animation. Another type of texture animation is like this water under the water. If I go under the water, you can see it's just a still object, just like the conveyor belt. These different layers of transparent textures are moving just like that belt was, which, from a distance, it Gives the water a little more of a waterfall-y kind of look. You could call it that. I don't know what you'd call it. The other kinds of examples I can think of that I've already made are also what you would call track objects. They're not the kind that you collide with, but they're just decorative. Think of them as decorative. Like people decorate their house for Halloween, they got different things out for folks to look at. Well, that's just basically what this is. And just like Halloween, how some of them little toys and things you buy, they like maybe a hand moves or uh, or a head turns or something like that. And we'll start there. It better not crash on me again now. Alright. She's animated in Blender, but she's not something you can actually run into. Right? She's just there for scenery. Alright, so another example. The flag's an animated texture. The butterfly's an animated object. What else? Oh, yeah, I gotta fix that. That's supposed to be an outhouse, not a toilet. If you look at this closely, you can see this white fabric stuff, whatever. That's just an animated texture. The little people's animation, they're like I was saying as far as the Halloween doll. They're just a little arm or a head turning or moving, and that's also done in Blender. This thing's lights that you'll see come in and out, they're basically just objects inside of, if I can get the camera in there, they're basically just little balls inside of this black box that when the time's right, they'll push out of the object to look like a light flashing. They're not actually, it's not actually doing anything. I mean, it's just an animated object. My waterfall got messed up, but that's another example of an animated texture. My water's missing here. They're all in the water. He was floating in the water. I don't know what happened to my river, but all these are animated, little quick animations in Blender. Let's see if I find it. See, I can spawn in now. Now, all these people, if you run into them, you'll just pass right through them, just like the lady. But a mod, that's a little different. A mod, you spawn in to run into it. A person, for example, if I have them in here still. Alright. That person you can run into. Let me get a car over here. That'll work. Spawn new. That person's an actual mod, which is just a box. It's not like a rag doll. It's not as fancy as the Crash Heart dummy. It's just a box. If I respawn him. Oh yeah, these are mods too. These track objects that you can break. If you go too fast, you hit the side, which I still got to work on these. I started making these back when I didn't really know what I was doing, making mods. But yeah, they are basically just objects you can run into just like the person. Hey, there he is. I was wondering where he went. Let me try to grab him before he falls off the side of the world. And I'll show you what basically all he is just a box. Just a simple box, just something that wouldn't be heavy on the processor. Just so if you wanted to have, a couple hundred of them, it shouldn't tax the system much. Just make some copies of him. And if you wanted to, you could just run into all of them. The only bad thing about them mods track objects is you have to cycle through them if you change the cars, because they're considered cars, basically. Yeah, that's how that works. And if you were to go to the part of the track that's got the actual barriers, which this is not finished. I'm still working on all this stuff here. I had originally said I was going to be done with this, and I couldn't real well. As you can see them. And you can't see that, the grass is too large. But yeah, that's the little breakable fences. But, well, they will break when I finally get them finished. The windmill's an animated texture. The little car, that's an animated blender object. This background scenery. The radio is an animated blender object. I think I messed up. Oh yeah, my water is missing, but the fish are still there. They're animated blender objects. And oh yeah, I forgot about the planes. They're annoying to look at when you're working on the level. Not so much if you're going around the track, but if you're sitting here constantly and they're going by, it just kind of starts to annoy you. Alright, here's one. A couple on here. That's an animated blender object. And the other one as well. Like 250 frames of animation. But that's pretty easy to do. I think that's it for this one. And the water back here is also animated. That's animated texture. If it's not actually doing anything, it's just a solid object, just like the other water and the other one. Nothing stop it. You can see it's just an object that don't actually move. Oh yeah, this is a couple different layers. That also animated. I have several layers to kind of give it that look. But they're all just animated, just like the other one. You put enough of them down, kind of gives it the illusion of water running. I mean, it's got built-in water in this, but which I used it on the other one, but not this one. This one's just the object. The water is a little intense with the game water. And that's just screwing around there, trying to make a whirlpool. It didn't really turn out great. So how that stuff done? Well, I'll have to get into that another time, pretty much. But I can show you this real quick. Let me start a new Blender file and show you how easy it is to animate an object. Say them mannequins, them people I had, the shaking the leg or moving the head around. That's pretty simple. We'll just really quickly just use this box as an example. Say that's the head, this is the body here, right? You just, this is how many frames it'll run, how many frames, this is how long it'll last, the length of time in frames. So we'll just say at 60 frames a second, that's 2 seconds. So say 120 frames would be 4 seconds. So you go to the last frame, and what I do for me, I'll just turn on like this auto key, because I'm just doing simple stuff. I'll just say pick this head, for example, and rotate it this way. And I work backwards. It's easier for me to work backwards than it is to go forward. Well, mostly because when you turn on auto key, it doesn't set a key for you right like at the start, which is probably a way to set it, but that's just the way I would do it, just to have like a head looking back and forth. Or an arm rotating if it was an arm. Just real quickly add this mesh cube, scale it to like just like it's an arm. Then you got to move the 3D cursor to where you want the axis to be, which is this cursor here, and move it to there, which that's kind of tricky to place that thing sometimes, but you'd have to go to object, set origin to 3D cursor. Now what that just did is when I rotate this, it'll basically allow it to animate, just like I did the head, but rotating instead. And then if you want that into the game, well, it won't be like the person you ran over. It'll just be like the person that you saw standing by the track holding an umbrella. It won't actually do anything. I'll just give it a quick box person. That's what I call the texture. And just real quickly, I'll just give it a texture map. Just something so it's not a white box. Hey, that'll work. Now it's just gonna just wrap it all over it randomly. But that's all I want to do. Just put something on it quick, just to have something on it. All right. I should be able to merge. I don't think I can merge these. I can't remember if I can merge them or not. And they keep the animation. No, they don't work like that. So they all three go as a separate object, but since you're not going to run into it, it's not that big a deal. It's very low polygon, so you probably put a couple million of them in there, it wouldn't matter. I just export it as a DAE right to the level that you want it in, which it won't be in every level, just the one that you specifically send it to. All right, quick box person. I think that's what I call the texture, right? Yeah, quick box person. It helps me remember, because once you're in the game, you more or less got to, before you can bring him in here, you got to make that texture, which is not going to show that texture yet. I got to reload it. Reload real quick. It doesn't always dynamically update the library of the different things that you export into it. It used to, for me anyway, but somewhere along the line that stopped working. Alright, so we'll reload it. Quick box texture. If you don't do it in this order, then it'll say no texture map. So now I'm just navigating to the folder that Blender exported that to, which I don't remember. What's the name of the actual image, like the texture, the picture that it uses? 3a.jpg. That's what you gotta hunt for. There it is. So I can save it. Now I can import the object and it won't give me the texture error, which is all these things. You go to all models, you good luck finding them in there. You'll just always go to the top, then everything's in there. And you start typing the name of that, which was Quick Box Person. And what did I say? I got the texture error. I spelled something wrong. Quick box texture. Alright, what did I? Oh, Quick Box Person. Well, that'll happen. that'll make the difference right there. But you can fix it. You just pick this little thing, pick him, assign to that, save. Now here's the crappy thing, save level. Which I didn't try to do what somebody told me. It said hit Control L to rerun scripts. Nope, that didn't fix it. So anyway, if that happens, you just reload the game after you fix it and it'll be fixed. It is very particular. If you use uppercase or lowercase, it'll hold you to it. If you put an uppercase, you got to put an uppercase on the texture. It's case sensitive. I found out the J-beam stuff's case sensitive too. I had my caps lock was on. I typed false for something and it's all caps and it's like, oh man, it didn't work. It's just one little thing. Let's see, so that's just an example. Whether it be a plane flying by or a rock falling off a conveyor belt, that's just an animated Blender object. And I think that's pretty much the basics of the animated stuff. I can't think of nothing else. If there's anything else, I can let me know. This is actually a real object that I just took pictures of and did with a mesh room. And this rock, all these rocks, they're all done with a mesh room. I like that one the most. That's the actual rock. That's a pretty big one. You can tell these are little ones that I just scaled up large. They look like little rocks. And their actual size should be more like, like these on the ground, these little ones here. That's more like the actual size of them. Yeah, even smaller than that. Yep, that's about right. Yep, they were little bitty rocks. I just scaled them up to be large ones, but it looks phony. I can't think of nothing else. That's all I can think of as far as an overview of animated stuff. There's probably a lot of other things I'm just not thinking. Uh, I did a few things in here just experimenting. I don't know if let me see. Yeah, it's another Blender object. It's not a mod. That's the butterfly. That's a Blender, animated Blender object. That's the animated Blender. This is what it says it is. It's a biscuit, a literal biscuit, like you eat. I made this with an app on the phone that makes 3D models, and I converted it. It's just a biscuit on the stove. It doesn't do anything. There's the radio. It's the animated Blender object. I made a snake. Animated it, and I didn't like how it turned out. Yeah, those are all the people out on. There's the fish. That's just the animated Blender object. Oh, that's the car that moves, which is just like the plane. It just goes point A to B. Nothing really other than that. A lot of rocks. Whatever that is missing the texture. That's a big toilet. I got a video of that. It's called 7,000 Leagues or 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It's an actual video. It's a huge toilet there. Which I need an animated texture for something in here, which is the water's missing. You can see it's just a toilet, but inside it, I had these little things in here where they got something water. I remember it had the word water in it. Spin water. There they are. They're like little fecal droppings, little turds that were floating in the water. That was an animated blender object. And I tried to make a tornado. It looked like crap though. I don't remember how I spelled it, with a capital or not. No, I just seen it. I was going through here, but now I don't see it. Oh, because I called it Twister. That's why. Twister. I thought I did. Yeah, there it is. I don't see it. The respawn one. Yeah, a little tornado. Now, interestingly enough, though, oh, I changed the texture. That's using the texture from something else. It's not the texture that it was originally using. Interestingly, though, if you wanted to do something like that, you could really mess with people. You could put a gravity switch. It's like a lewd trigger, which what it'll do is when they enter the zone, like if this thing wasn't moving around so much, but if it was kind of in one area, you could have it where um, it sucks your car up into the sky, and no one wouldn't know. I mean, they would just think this was a mod that did it or something. But it'd be just you just set the gravity inside that box, and then everywhere else you just have it where it's normal. And yeah, you'd be driving along, and all of a sudden the car loses its, well, just goes up in the sky. So that's just the very, very basics as far as animating stuff. There's a lot more. There's a lot more other things that are far more complicated. Mostly making mods. But once you start making one, once you make one, it starts to make sense. It's just getting that first one made, which is what I'm trying to get these little videos to help people. Which I'm learning myself. I just started figuring. I just got into the World Editor April of this year, and I didn't know anything then, so it don't take too long to start learning the stuff. Just persistence, a lot of reading. There's a lot of stuff you can read on the wiki from the game. Uh, but modding, that's just a whole separate thing. That's this is what a mod looks like. This is like for that new mangler grinder I'm making. You know, it's just basically all the nodes, all the beams, and the triangles, which it really ain't that much stuff. It looks like a lot, but it's all not really. Once you know what you're, once it starts to make sense, it starts to come a little easier. And like to make something spin and rotate, you know, you just tell it one or two or however many beams. You know, this is the stuff which I didn't know what this stuff is. I just loaded another mod that's got it, and it's like, oh, so that's how they did it. Copy, paste. So that's how you start figuring it out, you know. Now, I'd like to know how to do other things besides this T and letter G that came from the hammer, the large hammer, but um, the only way is just get mods and look at them, which I try to put little notes in here for folks that get my mods, like the new ones anyway, like kind of an explanation of like what this is, what it does. But you know, nodes and beams and all that, that's all that really is if you're in Blender and you're looking at something, like to make this simple, this person here, here's what a node is, and it takes me a minute. I want to use the camera like in the game to fly in here, and I can't. It takes a second or two to get acclimated. That's a node. People call them vertexes. They're nodes in the game. This is a beam. It's just the edge that connects two nodes. And if I triangulate this, this is a triangle. All a triangle is 3 nodes. And each node, if you pick one and you look at it, it's X, Y, and Z location, right? Say this one, for example, and that one are 2 different locations. Well, all the game knows when you're making beams is there's one node, there's the second node. It just knows to connect the 2 to make a beam. And then for the triangles, it's just 3 nodes, or 3 vertexes, basically. And then, of course, the nodes by themselves, which is here, and there's this place in space, X, Y, and Z. So, like, all this stuff, that's all that is just, you know, nodes and beams, and the little number in front of it, that's just the prefix that I give it to separate different things. And hell, it does it does everything for you pretty much as far as export and all that stuff, all that math stuff. You just file export JBeam. It exports it into a folder. Like say this mangler here. When you get it, all it is just nodes. Then a whole lot of beams. And then of course all the triangles, which that's not complete, you still got to finish it. But the easiest way to do that is to just take another mod that's already made, that you made, or one, like I got one I give everybody, and say this is a blank one that you can just copy your stuff over. If you want to do that, just copy the stuff from the export into here, and it should work. Which one of these folders is wow, where did I put that thing? Empty JBeam. This is the one that I shared on one of my videos. I even put little notes. Stop. Did you put a name, mod name in above, and then in parentheses, mod name goes here, and you know, all these different things. I mean, this might not make a lot of sense for anybody that ain't ever done this, but for people that are working on learning it, like that's what these little notes are. I put all these notes in here for folks that wanted to use this, which all they have to do is just basically just take one of these where you just take the nodes, the beams, and the triangles, and you just bring them into here. Like I even put notes where the nodes go. Space below this is where the nodes go. Stop. Nodes do not go beyond this line. Beams go in this space. I forgot what this video went. I made a video this goes with. There's a link for it in the description on making mods. I forgot what mod I made. Oh, I remember now. It's a simple box. Just a basic, you know, easy box. This one here. Which it exploded. But, you know, that's what the video's on making. Just a simple mod. So if you see that one, that's the one that that file's linked to. That's it. I can't think. I've been rambling now for quite a while. And got off topic and got all into other topics, which always happens because I'm terrible at recording these things. I guess this is more like live, be more like a live stream kind of video than it would be one that I would post. So, yeah, let me know if anyone's got any questions about anything. Um, but yeah, just comment below or whatever.